Well, it may not be football season, but yet here we are going to be talking some football episode. Talk a little bit of NFL draft, but really want to talk a little bit about. We got a chance to watch some of Joey Aguilar's tape,
Yeah.
where we hadn't on our last episode, and I also watched a film breakdown of him by another YouTuber. So we're going to get into that because we saw some interesting things there. Learned a couple of things we definitely did not know about him.
Yeah, much more excited about him than we was before watching that. So,
Oh, absolutely.
um,
And dive a little bit more into the portal,
mhm.
what we might be looking at for the Vols over the next week or so.
Right.
Quickly, Bob, let's congrats to our former Vols. You want to go over the list real fast?
Sure. James Pierce, he went first to the Falcons. Omar and Omar Lott went to second to the Chiefs. Thornton went to fourth round to the Raiders. And Dylan Sampson went in the fourth to the Browns. Not a particular great landing spot for them since they already had, I think they drafted Judkins much earlier from Ohio State.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, I don't know why they drafted a second running back there.
They did the same thing with quarterbacks later.
But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And now on the free agent list, Big O went to the Saints for free agent. Elijah Simmons went to Cardinals free agent, and Will Brooks signed a free agent contract with the Chiefs. There'll be some more, I'm sure, today.
Yeah, next day or two, I'm sure there'll be some more. The least surprising thing in that whole thing, Bob, to me, was the Raiders taking super fast wide receiver.
Yeah, that's kind of if you
My entire
follow the
lifetime.
Raiders,
Yeah.
they always like them
Speed.
track guys. Yeah.
That they do. So, guys, we appreciate all that you done for us out there. Your sweat and your blood, and you entertained us for the big orange, the balls, and heartfelt thanks to you guys. But as they go out, we got a quarterback coming in, Bob, and when we first got him, we didn't know a whole lot about him, to be honest about it. But we had an opportunity to sit down, watch a few games, picked up a few things, and watched a breakdown by another YouTuber, Brooks Austin, over at the Film Guide Network, who does an excellent job. If you haven't watched him, give him a look.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Probably link this one on Aguilar at the bottom in our show notes.
Yeah.
But what did you see, Bob, that really caught your eye?
Well, first of all, I'm just going to say, Tim, about going into this thing, when we first got a commitment from him, I thought, heck, this guy might be able to compete for the starting job.
Agreed.
After watching his film, looking at some stats, watching some other people's break down his film, I feel much better about him. And, the one thing I didn't think was like this guy, he might compete and we might be okay. I feel like there's some upside there. He could boom. We could get a top season that we thought we might be able to get out of Nico this year, that was hopeful out of Nico.
Well, it's very possible because I think he fits the system.
He does. I mean, you'll hear many people say his biggest fault was interceptions, and I get that. But I will say this system, Heupel's quarterbacks rarely throw a lot of interceptions. So the system must be.
Well, I mean, you've got a lot of open lanes with the wide splits.
Yeah.
There's more. The windows are not as tight. Pure and simple. As long as you get the ball out on time. If you're slow, then that's a whole different story.
Well, see, that's one thing I like about this kid. Seemed like Milton and Nico was hesitant to throw it into those windows at the time of they was open and then they was closed.
Well,
this kid,
he's got no conscience about doing that.
He rips it. He throws too many interceptions, but his team was bad. Bad offensive line. When you watch the film, the guy's running for his life right off the bat. They're behind usually almost right off the bat. The receivers was pretty poor.
Beginners need a pattern here, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, so how much of those interceptions thrown when he didn't have a choice? Hey, we're behind in the game. I got to chunk it here. We got to get one. How many interceptions was due to poor wide receiver play? That kind of stuff. But now the one thing I thought was interesting about him is as Brooks Austin pointed out, he will throw a pick, and then the very next time he's out there, he's liable to throw another risky play. Now, is that,
That can be both good and bad.
bad? But at least he's not,
He don't dwell on it. No.
And I've seen so many quarterbacks.
I hope he learns from it, but he don't dwell on it.
Yeah. He's got confidence in himself, and that's something that I think it's critical as a quarterback.
Well, he's got a good enough arm to be started with. He's a pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
He runs fairly well.
You got to snap and clear, kind of like the whole cornerback position. You have a bad play, get it out of your head, do what you're supposed to do. On the next play, forget about what happened here. And learn from it, but you can't dwell on the previous play.
Well, I remember when Heupel first got here, one of the things that impressed me about him was most of our former coaches have been very risk adverse.
Yeah.
And I can remember him constantly shouting to the quarterbacks, grip it and rip it, grip it and rip it, grip it and rip it.
Yeah.
He don't want you hesitating. There's a window's going to be open, but at this level, it's not going to be open long.
Right.
And that's not going to be an issue. Heupel's not going to tell him that. He may have to tell him to settle down a little bit. But this kid has potential, I believe.
He does. I think he does have potential there. He's got a strong enough arm, like you said. He's tough. One thing I did like about him, too, when you watch the film study on him, he will stand in the pocket. There's people.
He's fearless.
Yeah, there's stuff going on around him. He's got decent presence in the pocket, and he doesn't get nervous like Nico did. The first sign of pressure, he starts, gets the happy feet, gets off balance, and then the play is. You knew as soon as pressure started, this play's over. There's nothing good going to happen here, and.
Well, Aguilar, he seems to have a better feel for people at his feet, his knees, and everything. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He's keeping with the play.
Yeah. And other thing, that I liked about him too was, as Brooks Austin pointed out, was when he's got the ball, he seems to have both hands on the ball at all times. I've seen many quarterbacks do the palm or have it loose all the time.
Clint Stern.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh my gosh, it's going to get knocked out. And this, he's had plays like that, I'm sure, but you like it, the fact that he keeps both hands on the ball. It's just a little minor thing that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Now, one negative I saw, quite often he was throwing off his back foot.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, that's not what I want my quarterbacks doing. A lot of bad things happen a lot of times.
Yeah.
But he was getting a ton of pressure right up the middle, and I think sometimes he got in a little habit of doing that. Hopefully, we'll protect him a little bit better and get that out of him a little bit. But that said, I saw him throw interceptions doing that, and I saw him throwing touchdowns doing that. But I'd rather him not revert to that.
Right. Yeah. So I feel much better about him, honestly. I think he could be a guy who not only starts for us, but leads us to a very good season.
Yeah, I could see him excelling. Something I didn't think I'd be saying,
Yeah.
Now,
I'm not giving him the job. I mean, I think Merklinger has a decent shot at winning this job as well.
Yeah, and George might be the most talented guy down there.
Maybe. We got talent. We got this guy who's experienced some. So, I'm not willing to throw out the season just yet.
No,
I was pretty down in the dumps, though, initially. But we very well could have better quarterback play than we thought we were going to have with Nico. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, we may have filled that one hole. The next question is, there's still some holes on this football team.
Yes.
We had another defensive back safety going to the portal, Jacoby Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting some holes here and there, Bob, but what are we looking at filling them? And let me say this too, Jacoby Thomas may even come back, and I can't say I blame him, but, according to Awesome Price over VolQuest, some people are throwing out some big numbers for him that may not be realistic. So if he enters, once he in the portal and those numbers don't actually happen, I think he's going to be welcome back to the team.
Yeah, he's one guy that could come back where some leave and the doors close.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be some activity there. I fully expect a wide receiver transfer, a DB possibly, because we know I got him Brent Austin from the USF Bulls, a cornerback position. He's coming in first part of the week, it looks like. We've had a slew of defensive tackles in the last few days. I expect commitment there in the next few days.
Yeah, we'll take one of them. And it's really going to be a rotational piece. We're not getting a starter at defensive tackle out of the portal.
No.
But we're going to get
somebody
somebody
some snaps.
Get some snaps.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised that, like I said, go maybe see a safety coming in.
I think you about have to, because I think you only have 5 scholarship safeties, and 2 of them are true freshmen. And we've talked many times on this podcast back to the fact that you generally don't get snaps until you're junior, senior with coaching staff.
Well,
safety position.
Banks, yeah, he loves his 18th year seniors.
Yeah, he likes experience.
Yeah, but tell you what, this is going to be about the least experienced team that I can remember in a long time. I love our talent on our football team. I think it's the best we've had in some multiple years down there.
I agree with that.
So much of it
question mark.
Underclassmen though, because talented, I believe so.
Yeah.
Experienced, I know they're not.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of coaching going on.
Yeah, there better be. It's
a
good year for them to allow coaching on the field by all these analysts.
Yeah.
Not that that wasn't happening before.
Right.
But at least they ain't got to hide it no more.
Right.
So that, Bob, I would one more thing I would like to add before we get out of here, a little something kind of funny, I think. And it goes back to the Iamaleavas. I see where Madden is probably going to be sued by the Arkansas Collective.
Good.
He got a $100,000 signing bonus, but according to his contract, which we've all been led to believe you can't tie them to the university. Well, their contracts ties them to the university, and he's going to owe them like $200,000.
Yeah. And I think they're actually suing for more, I believe.
Punitive damages. It's so Big Nick. Looks like he cost Nico a ton of money going to UCLA, and it looks like he's cost Madden a ton of money to go to UCLA. What's the old thing, the meme? You hate to see it, but more than that,
you love to see it.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
On that note, guys, just thanks for joining us today. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe button if you haven't already.
Okay.
Leave us a comment, and man, go Big Orange.
Go Vols.